If we understand replayability as the incentive to approach a game again from a different perspective than the original, I'd say the RPG genre isn't one that personally motivates me much in that regard. Although I understand it's an extremely personal view, role-playing games are the kind of titles I approach as a second life, so I tend to play them as if they were my only chance to experience their universes, making each decision heavier because I know I'll be left wondering what would have happened if I'd done things differently. However, while I'd say that's my general way of seeing these adventures, it's also true that there are certain RPGs that, whether due to their narrative charm or gameplay depth, have tempted me enough to play them more than once, which says a lot about their quality. There are just a few, yes, but at least there are enough for me to invite you to read this list of the 10 best RPGs with high replayability, understanding the article's focus not only as games with a lot of content, but specifically a lot of content you would be interested in seeing more than once. There's nothing more wonderful than discovering a classic title and quickly understanding why it's considered one, which was certainly the case for me with the magnificent Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. Coming from the creators of my all-time favorite stealth game, I knew I'd like it, but I didn't expect it to have not only the same level of environmental depth as Dishonored, but also such a strong emphasis on its RPG elements. The result, of course, was a game I wanted to finish at least 3 times, trying out every single combination of playable classes and tackling each level with new solutions that always surprised me when they proved effective and not just my own delusions. While the story doesn't change much, Dark Messiah of Might and Magic's dynamic and spontaneous gameplay is something worthy of praise even by modern standards. The kind of game that makes you realize if you only play it once, you're undervaluing what it truly offers. Every time I talk about the latest installments in the franchise, I'm aware die-hard fans of the originals get offended, though I can't help but be captivated by Diablo 4. Yes, the series certainly isn't the same as it was 20 years ago, and I understand why that might be a negative, but the urge this title instills in you, not only to see everything, but to do it with different characters, is something I rarely feel with video games. I don't like going through the same levels, watching the same cutscenes, or doing the same quests, but each build and character in Diablo 4 changes the feeling of the experience so much that my motivation to explore said depth becomes greater than my reluctance to repeat content. I know it's largely due to how efficient its loot system is at enchanting me and how captivating it is to discover the abilities of all the characters, but seeing the success the IP has had even after its shift in focus at the last decade's beginning, I also know I'm not alone. There's no genre better suited to discussing replayability than immersive sims, and thanks to its role-playing elements, I feel compelled to give a well-deserved mention to Deus Ex: Human Revolution. Unlike the previous entries in this article, revisiting Adam Jensen's adventure is not only desirable because you can appreciate the variety of solutions the game offers based on the builds you can create, but also because of the narrative twists and turns. Each path Human Revolution presents is a mechanical delight, but also a philosophical reflection, where you can change your approach by playing stealthily instead of hacking, or with direct action, and explore how the story would unfold if your morals and knowledge were different. Since the title boasts perfect level design along with an equally outstanding story, I can't imagine anyone not playing it at least twice. It captivates you in a way that provides all sorts of reasons to always want to return, whether a day or 10 years have passed. If a game whose average playtime exceeds 50 hours is able to make a replayability list made by me, it has to be a truly marvelous experience, and that's exactly what The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is. I still find it a bit of a letdown that the gameplay is just entertaining, but believe me, it hardly matters if you don't have a huge number of combos or builds at your disposal when you're experiencing one of the most detailed, responsive, and meticulously crafted universes in video game history. Changing the order of missions, allying with other characters, finding alternative ways to resolve certain conflicts, modifying selected dialogue options, from the smallest details to the largest, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt makes its transformations noticeable and consequently makes you appreciate all the work that went into it. Furthermore, Geralt of Rivia is a very distinctive character, but he also knows perfectly how to express the player's agency, so noticing the inclination towards his various facets depending on how we urge him to act is glorious, enhanced by how magnificently he is written. Thanks to their predilection for RPGs, it's undeniable that Obsidian is among the best studios for creating replayable experiences, with examples like The Outer Worlds proving my point. While I don't consider it their best game by any means, I do believe it's both one of their most accessible and one of their best at motivating players to play multiple times, fully exploiting its potential. When you only play through your first adventure, considering its main and side content aren't particularly dense, it feels like you've only seen the tip of the iceberg. In fact, you don't truly grasp the vast expanse of ice before you until you try other classes and make different choices compared to your initial playthrough. It's essentially the same premise I used to describe in previous entries, but that's because The Outer Worlds doesn't focus on innovation, but rather on refinement, and I believe that's something that can't be taken away from it in any context. Therefore, it won't offer you anything groundbreaking, but it will exactly satisfy the needs you came here to fulfill by looking for a list like this, and that's why I'm placing it above games that may be superior but don't rely as much on their ability to give you more than one life. Personally, games that prioritize mechanical replayability tend to carry more weight than those that focus on narrative, so an article like this without mentioning Dragon's Dogma 2 would have been a crime. Is it tedious having to explore the same caverns, talk to the same NPCs, and endure the same quest structure straight out of a 2000s game? Yes, and yet it still made it into the top 5 titles for this article, which speaks volumes about the quality of its builds. Few RPGs on the market can offer this level of depth in combat, as the game completely abandons its narrative to give you numerous playable archetypes with the most spectacular abilities you've ever seen, satisfying your power fantasies like no other. I understand not everyone is willing to sacrifice the lack of technical variety between playthroughs just to explore a new set of abilities, but if you enjoy hack-and-slash games or prefer ARPGs, it will scratch a part of your brain you didn't even know existed. You can still go for different endings and choices, yet I would never recommend replaying Dragon's Dogma 2 for those reasons, but rather for the sheer joy of becoming a different kind of god with new powers to destroy everything in your path. Every time I include The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, I'm aware it's no longer 2011, and the game hasn't aged as well as I remember, but it remains among the greatest experiences of our time. As the single-player title I've sunk the most hours into in my life, through numerous characters created over the years with completely contrasting gameplay and narrative approaches, I believe no list of RPGs with high replayability is complete without Bethesda's gem. You can easily spend 100 hours with your first character, thinking you've seen everything relevant, create a different one, and realize you not only have a skill tree deep enough that you could never fully explore it in a single playthrough, but also unique characteristics that vary based on things as basic as your race or faction affiliations. If you do as I do and decide to roleplay to a certain extent, avoiding some guilds or gods based on the notion that it doesn't suit your character, you have in your hands a title that you may never let go of in your life, or at least until you invest a solid 500 hours in it. I think I know how to appreciate a great mythology when I see it, and Dragon Age Origins universe is so insanely immersive and complex that it pains me to witness it tied to the clunkiest gameplay of the century's first decade. However, even though the gameplay is only enough to keep you from wanting to bang your head against the wall, and you might even grow fond of it, it's obvious that the main reason to replay it is the feeling of infinite possibilities at your fingertips when it comes to the story. From the beginning, when you create your character and select your avatar's race and origin story, you realize you're about to experience a journey so unique that you probably won't be able to repeat it even if you try to follow your steps one by one, because the depth is just too much. If you're younger and have never understood why so many of us make such a fuss about BioWare, playing Dragon Age Origins is the best way to know why they are among the main references in the history of Western RPGs, as they set an unparalleled standard. It will be painful to discover it's not the same studio and things have changed so much they'll probably never be the same again, but it will be satisfying because you'll have a game that won't let go until you force yourself to. Regardless of what I've said about my tendency to prioritize gameplay over story in RPGs, the writing in Disco Elysium is so deep, branching, genuine, and spontaneous that I don't care at all that it doesn't have a single combat. When every line of dialogue feels lifted from a book that has been relevant for eons, or when every situation makes you rethink how you see the world, honestly, no magic or power system is worth it. I would trade the ability to cast spells or fight dragons every single day of my life if it meant enjoying games that make you feel completely different depending on every word you utter, as they transform how Martinez reacts to your presence. Listen to more lines from the narrator, unlock more thoughts from the cabinet, meet more characters, find more side quests, uncover more secrets of the city. Playing Disco Elysium after finishing it is almost mandatory, because not doing so feels like leaving the best cake in history half-eaten, even though you're starving.
Whether you prefer story-driven or gameplay-focused RPGs, I'd venture to say the most outstanding middle ground found in the last couple of years is undoubtedly Cyberpunk 2077, especially after its DLC. If you're only interested in character builds, I can think of 3 distinct playstyles off the top of my head that allow you to create 3 unique characters regardless of the story choices you make, each as entertaining and immersive as the last. If you're only interested in choices, Night City offers so many contexts in which to test your reactive abilities and moral compass, showing you how much the experience changes depending on how you choose to interact with it. In any case, the best part is you don't have to stick to just one of its 2 pillars, as both coexist masterfully. If Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the best RPGs of this generation, it's precisely due to its talent for striking a balance between its core elements and satisfying every type of fan of the genre. To try out every build, enjoy every romantic option, explore every faction, uncover every secret, and experience every ending, playing it just once isn't enough. The prologue will get increasingly tedious, I won't hide that from you, but from then on there are countless lives to live to the fullest.